Hey guys, so we're back. Q&A time with Paul Vixie. If you guys don't know who Paul Vixie is, I think you should Google that because he's one of the most famous people for DNS. In fact, I think he's inducted into the Internet Hall of Fame probably 7 years ago or something like that. So, Paul is actually going to be joining us with Boris Taratin. So, Boris and Paul, are you guys there? Hey!
I'm here.
How's things, man? Long time no see.
I am, wishing that this had gone off in person like I did last year, but beyond that, life is okay.
Can't complain, I suppose, right? I mean, it could be worse.
We are alive to complain, so we're the lucky ones.
That's one way to put it.
Hey, thanks so much for staying up, man. I know it's relatively late for you on the other side of the world. So yeah, thanks for delivering your talk in person and for also joining us here in the Q&A. Before we get started though, I understand we're missing your slides. So if you have a second, just drop that over to me when we're done over here so that I don't forget also. But Cooper says that you are going to be doing a demo. You want to do your demo first, or what would you like to do?
Well, I said that we would be doing a demo. I didn't say I was going to do it.
Oh, okay. So Boris and you are going to do a demo. Okay, awesome, man. Hey, Boris, you want to give us a little bit of an introduction on yourself, man? Since I didn't introduce you.
Absolutely. Yes, Boris Taratin. I am in UK. Sun is just coming out. It is a middle of the world between you and Paul. I'm with Farsight for a little bit, for over a year. I love it. I joined just because I share the vision of making internet a safer place for everyone. And I think this is something that keeps us all excited and awake. And here we are.
So I'm just reading your bio, and it says here you publish stuff under the NATO High-Tech Project, man. That sounds hardcore, man.
Oh yes, everything else you can read on the internet. Google can show you things that I may not even know about myself.
Anyway, Paul, you ready for your demo thing, or shall we just chat, or what you want to do, man? I mean, this is an informal session anyway, so it's just kind of relaxed.
I would like Boris to give us a few minutes of shell scriptery.
Boris, no pressure, man.
Yes. Host disabled participant screen sharing. Can you let me know how to share my screen?
Sure. Just give us a second. The studio guys behind there are frantically clicking on things. I believe you have screen sharing. Yeah. Can you share your screen now, or?
Let me see. Yes, I can.
Perfect.
Let us recap a little bit what we learned from what Paul mentioned about protective DNS. There are many definitions, and what we need to know for this specific engagement, that protective DNS, it's an umbrella term for the security solutions that will inspect your DNS query and give you the answer to prevent you from accessing malicious resources on the internet. This is all we need to know, and there are many different ways to do it. Paul was talking about cloud providers which can offer you this. These are cloud providers. You can go, you just make a query, and you will find a bunch of those. So, maliciousness. As you probably know, there is a lot of studies has been done which discovered that newly observed or created items on the internet or assets on the internet statistically are not safe to deal with. From 60 to 80%, depending on study, depending on exactly what was studied, the data set, the time, from 60 to 80%. So it is better than flip of a coin. So new stuff on the internet, not necessarily safe to deal with. From time it appears, or you learn about this, to the time you understand the behavior, it requires some efforts. But if we statistically know that majority of those are not safe to deal with, and there is no legitimate reason for those to be accessed immediately once they appeared on the internet, the idea is, as Paul mentioned in his keynote, just to prevent access to those until we know how good they are. What you see on the left side, flying or posing, these are our live observations of newly observed items. So we have not seen anything of this from the start of our observation. And we started observe it back in 2010. Once it flies over, it will be put in our database. We call it DNSDB. And just to demonstrate that this is the case, I will make a query, and you will see that it was observed very recently, one time. Now, let's take another one. For some reason, it's just internet is probably sleeping because it's early morning here in UK, and then it started once again. So I took another random, and once again, this is definitely newly observed by us. So we have not seen it before. We have over 500 sensors across the globe, but this is something that we never saw before. Let's try another one, just to make sure that I can reliably convince you. See the date? See the date? This is 7 a.m. here. I'm British time. This is UTC, so 1 hour back. So 3 minutes ago, this is what we saw. Look, this asset already has an IP. We observed that being queried. So let's see now something interesting. Let's take any random DNS and make a lookup. Let's say we do want to resolve this stuff. Tell me which DNS to take. Let's say Dyn. I know that Dyn actually does some form of security protection, and this is what I do. So I ask Dyn to resolve this, and it is being resolved. Perhaps it already knows something is not right because it gives 127. Let's see other domains, domain name servers would be able to resolve it. Let's do Google. Google already know. Well, that's good. That means it's so bad that these cloud providers actually know about this. Let's take some other stuff, maybe this one, and try to resolve. First, I demonstrate to you that this is newly observed by us. We see the asset already has an IP, and let's do very same thing with Google first. Right. So Google doesn't know whether it's good or bad. Okay. Let's try some other. OpenDNS, NIC. Let's try code 9. 9.9.9.9. It also knows about this. But statistically, this is greater chance for this asset to be not safe rather than benign. A lot of studies are there, and we can give you the links to those studies. They're done independently on different data sets during different period of time, etc. So what it means is, if my household, because I'm at home now, everyone works from home, or many of those work from home, if I used these DNSs from here, right, I would be able, let's get another one, I don't know, Norton. I would be able to reach this resource from the internet. Me, my systems, my family. And we even don't know whether this resource is good or bad. So now, let's see what we can do. As you remember, Paul mentioned about some of our projects here, which would consume RPZ, Response Policy Zone. One of these, we put on the Raspberry Pi at home in my closet, and I consume here 24 hours RPZ zone from Farsight. So whatever you see here would be here. I already demonstrate. I will demonstrate this to you. So whatever you see, whatever we observed, will be pushed through the internet right to my Raspberry Pi. So one solution is bind DNS with RPZ on it and under quite nice GUI management from IOC to RPZ project. The same is under Pi-hole. So I have Raspberry Pi with bind on it, and my Pi-hole works with bind, which consumes the RPZ feed. So at home I have 6 clients. This is my statistics, as you can see here, right? And now let's see how this stuff would work. I am trusting Farsight to tell me what to do with all those assets. That's why I put given. Everything else is just different configuration. You don't need to go into those deep stuff. What you need to know is very simple thing. If I now try to resolve this asset through one of my DNS servers at home, 192.168, let's query directly, 8.100, this one. I will not be given any IP to reach. If that asset indeed was not safe to work with, my household would be protected. You may say, well, you were talking a lot and that's why it's so cool, and then you now show us this stuff. Let's take this one, okay? And let's make it real. So this one is still on the screen, right? But my DNS at home will not let me go there. Let's try the one. So yes, let's try the one 192.168. Okay, my typing in the morning is not good. Nighttime is okay. 192.168, 8.100. Right. So that's clean. So something which is going still from here. Let's take this one. Let's go in here and query very same domain, which was flying right on my screen. Not quick enough. Let's try another DNS, 1.1.1.1, which is mine. That
I knew there would be demo fail if we kept this up.
Yes, all right. We'll take another domain. That's not a big deal.
No, I think one demo fail is enough. Let's quit while we're behind.
One demo fail is enough. 2 failed in enough. Yes, okay.
That's what you get from working from home, man. Comcast has really messed with me during demos. So anyway, I'm not going to worry about that. It does work. And I just published the video where there were no demo failures, so that those demos were successfully rigged. Anyway, do we have any questions? I don't have the Discord client operating. I could if I needed to, but I'm trusting.
At the moment, there are no questions from the audience. However, I think Sriman had a question that he wanted to ask you guys a while ago.
Yeah, so like you showed in the demo, right? People are working from home more and more nowadays since COVID and all of that stuff. And an RPZ option for employees working from home is a bit hard to implement. How do you see DNS or DNS monitoring, sinkholing, evolving in this situation?
Well, I think right now we're moving from one model that we knew about to another model that we either don't know about or don't like. Because it used to be that to work from home, you had a VPN. And VPN software used to go, reach its claws into your OS and cripple it so that if you were connected to the VPN, then you could not reach anything but that VPN. And that would somehow keep, the kids' gaming PC from infecting you while you were attached to the corporate mothership and so forth. Tricks like that don't really work, but they all sound good, so they show up as checklist items for endpoint and VPN, and so people buy the one that has that, and then they depend on it, and then hell breaks loose. But that we didn't like. What we're going toward now is the kind of, what do they call it? The trust-free, where you never have special access to some of these servers. I guess is the Beyond Corp or the Zero Corp or something like that, where you never have access based on where you're coming from or what you can reach with a packet. That everything you do is certificate based. It's based on what ticket you're holding, and as a result, you could conceivably run that corporate network without a firewall, other than for DDoS protection. And you wouldn't worry because none of your file servers or printers or anything would be willing to do anything for anybody who didn't have the right, key material, the right certificate material. And the people who are pushing that are, I got to say, I love the vision. I don't know where to get the crack that they're smoking, but it's... what we're going to end up with is a bunch of people who actually believe they have that, and that they're not going to even try to worry about the multiple horizon problem, where you're connected to the corporate network and to various other networks that are full of untrustworthy people who might somehow be able to masquerade as you. I don't know, maybe it's art poisoning or something like that. So I am concerned, but I think that for work from home, we're going to have hardened configs. There are ways to make sure that your Windows PC cannot have its configuration changed by somebody who doesn't have the administrator password. And I think within that, I know Apple has something like that, and I'm sure smartphones are going to have things like that. Within that umbrella, I anticipate that the DNS server will be wired down to one that conforms to the corporate security policy. That is unfortunately economically infeasible for a family. They are never going to pay for that version of Windows or that version of Mac OS or any of that. But at least for the work from home crowd, for the bigger companies, or the smaller companies who can afford to buy managed service provider, real IT support, in other words, I think we're going to see it. I think it'll just be that when you are using your work laptop, you are using some name server that was approved by Works sysadmin. And Works sysadmin may decide that the way they can make their phone ring the least is if you have a personal DNS on your laptop running RPZ, so that you don't call them because there was a network hiccup. You can actually do a lookup using your normal ISP, but enforcing policy inside your corporate laptop. I think that model has got legs. Sorry, long answer to a short question.
How long do you think that's going to take before we see that happening? As in like 6 months, 12 months, more than that?
And would that be another agent running on the machine? Or?
Well, Moore's Law has been kind, so fortunately the cores and the gigabytes that are needed to do all this extra stuff are all there. The unfortunate part is that they're all full of buggy software and polluted supply chains. But, you asked a question, how soon before we see this? I want to ask a different question. Would we have seen it? So I think an interesting question is how long before this is not news? How long before administrators everywhere are behaving this way and know that this is in the bag of tricks? I don't know. Probably a couple of Usenix meetings, or whatever it takes to get the word out.
And maybe for the folks at home that just want to stay secure or increase their privacy, right? Is it something easy for them to implement a bind server with RPZ filtering on it, or did you have a recommendation on that?
So I do, and what I'll say is that for somebody who goes to your conference ever, this is easy. And you and I both wish more people would go. And so my problem is that your average person, where the sysadmin for their company's chief claim to fame is that they have certain certifications and they've got a degree and they've got whatever Cisco network security certification or Microsoft or whatever. Those people are really going to be using a bunch of off-the-shelf stuff. Yeah. And they probably will never think that they have to come to a conference like yours, which I think is too bad and will slow their career development, as well as holding the world back from getting safer sooner. But, until Microsoft and Apple and the rest of those folks decide that they want to start training people to this model and documenting it, I'm not sure how much it matters what we do.
That's encouraging. But that's the reality we live in, right? Unless there's some kind of commercial viability and need for them to actually push this agenda, they're not going to do it. I mean, who's going to pay for that, right? But what's your plans for, at Farsight, right? Like, what are you guys up to for the rest of the year? Anything interesting planned? Or stay safe, stay home?
Well, I'll be at FIC in Lille, as will Boris, because it's a short flight for a train ride for him across the channel. So I will be in France next month. Be back in London for Black Hat Europe, which I guess is in November.
Yep.
Unless it's canceled. I was scheduled to speak at the Wild West Hackin' Fest, and that went all full virtual yesterday. So... so the company did go to, Black Hat Las Vegas, but there it was kind of an interesting turnabout where they didn't cancel it, they didn't make it virtual, but we decided we weren't going because we looked at the numbers from, the various government websites and said, we cannot in good conscience ask employees to go there, and we don't think anyone else is going to either. And so, it was ghost town. But we did do a virtual thing, and we did talk to some folks. We made some announcements. We made an announcement about protective DNS to say, thank you, DoD. This is what protective DNS also means, kind of the same as the talk I just gave. But we also indicated that, we're about to roll out, a handful of new subscription feeds using this particular system, so that certainly the appliance vendors are likely to put our new feeds in their catalogs, and the customers that come to us for newly observed, we can now say, hey, look what else we have that you didn't know about.
Nice. Well, fingers crossed that, nothing else gets cancelled for the rest of this year. It seems that most things are starting to open back up, at least, it appears that way. Europe, our Dutch guys are in Netherlands, right? They're telling me, nobody's wearing masks, you can just walk around. I'm like, whoa, that's amazing, man. It seems so,
So, I want to say, this Delta thing is catching a lot of people by surprise, and so a lot of my news has turned out to be old. I had a business trip to Germany and Denmark last month, and it was great. And I keep a motorcycle in each of those countries, and that also was great. But in fact, I keep a motorcycle in London, not far from Boris as well.
Nice.
the time since then, it looks like Germany has gone back to quarantining people who come in from outside country.
Yeah.
Because their numbers were just too high. This Delta thing is making a big reset in what we all thought our plans were going to be.
Yeah, I know, man. Tell me about it. I mean, we have plans for trying to do something in November in UAE for Cyber Week, right? Right at this point in time, like today, right, everything seems fine, but tomorrow's another day, and this thing is just so unpredicted, right? Like, I mean, nobody could have written this. This truth is stranger than fiction, but yeah, I mean, I remain hopeful. Fingers crossed, we'll be able to chill out again soon rather than later.
Me too, but I'd rather do it later and have both of us be there for it. So
Indeed, brother.
I think
Fair point.
caution is indicated.
Indeed. Anyway, gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. Always insightful. Nice to see Paul again. I mean, it would be better if we were in person, but hey, what can we do, right?
As soon as we can.
Boris.
Yes, and at the end, the screen was showing everything live, and those who were watching, they were able to see it. And
this is going to be recorded anyway, man. So it's fine. They'll watch it after the fact. Like, we'll release all of the talks onto our YouTube as well. So yeah, they'll be able to watch it there, and it'll be fine. It'll be fine.